Hi Athens, welcome to Kaleidoscope. I'm a little down now because I boo-booed so bad the last show. And I wore the wrong color shirt and my hair was all green. And I realize I haven't introduced my co-host yet, and I'm going to briefly, and then I'm going to say something else. So this is Jane Pinwell.
Hello, Athens. And Anne should not be so hard on herself, right?
Well,
no,
another thing I need to apologize for is that I reviewed my book last week and never said that I'm a survivor of incest, which was the most important thing, which was that I was dialoguing in the book with incest offenders. And I guess I got too shy or embarrassed or something to even say it. So, poo on me. And I need to formally tell you that as of September the 15th, 2015, you have until then to find a replacement for me. I'm going to be an octogenarian, and my word-finding skills are just hitting the bottle. Hitting the bottle.
I don't hitting the bottle. Maybe you should try that. I don't believe it.
So if anyone wants to replace me, schedule an interview with Jane Pinwell at Public Access, and you too can sit in the chair and play.
Maybe.
What is it we play? Faces or heads or something?
You do. You
talking
get those,
heads.
Yeah, but you get those great shots of people from our films, from our shows, and some of them are priceless.
Well, at least I'm getting good at noticing photo ops, because at the end of last show you said you really would like to interview the artist that did the cover photograph, and I arranged to buy it and meet with her, and I have her being interviewed by me at McDonald's in Nelsonville. So take it away, ma'am. Yeah, a little more this way. And this is the cover image for Nan's new book. And this is Alexa, who captured it initially on
Final Friday in Nelsonville.
That's right.
Hocking College Gallery.
It was. And this is Sarah Herman, who now artist.
Sarah Love. Sarah Love.
Yep.
She's using her maiden name.
For the art.
For the art, you're using Love. Okay.
Yep.
Well, they know the secret now.
Yep.
And how long have you been doing? What I was going to ask you is if you consider yourself an artist or a sculptor or what?
I do both 2D and 3D, so I would like to say artist because I like to do painting also with my sculpting.
And let's see, how old are you?
I'm 24.
Gee, you look like you're 14.
Thank you.
And you're a student at Hocking?
No, just graduated.
Oh, you just graduated?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now tell me, how did you happen to put the netting over her eyes? That's very nice.
I used a scale tool, which is its own type of little knife, and I individually sculpted each scale.
Wow.
And then later glazed it.
Scales, not netting.
Yeah. It can be interpreted however, because some people took it as like stitching and stuff like that. But yeah.
And so how many snakes are there?
2, 3, 4. I see 4 heads.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3,
6.
6, yep.
4, 5, 6. And you told me earlier, but maybe you could say again how you happened to make it.
I was on my thesis for that show was misunderstood monsters, and I wanted to take a coil pot and use snakes, and Medusa came out of it. And Medusa's always been a monster that I liked, and along with others.
That's a misunderstood monster.
Yeah,
That
because
is
of
great.
the mythology that she comes from. She's actually more of a victim than
Right.
than the villain.
And what's the name of your professor?
Anne Fuller.
And Fuller.
Anne
Fuller.
Fuller. Anne Fuller.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, so
very amazing teacher.
do you have a studio in your own home?
Yeah, I got like a little corner in my little spot, but yeah, right now it's all, I have to travel to get to kilns and stuff like that. But yeah, but I work at home.
And where do you get the clay from?
Right now I'm still working on the clay I still had from college. I'm being very careful with it and stretching it out. But yeah.
That's marvelous. We want to
Thank
turn
you.
around slowly so we can make sure to get the person turning this is magic. Thank you, Alexa. And thank you,
Yeah,
Sarah.
thank you.
Sarah Love, and I will autograph the book for you now.
Thank you very much. Very excited.
All right, now we're waiting with bated breath for Motor Mouse movie review. This has been a big year for arguments about award-winning prospects.
True.
So we sent out our intrepid reporter to cover them. So take it away, Jane.
Well, I did see Selma, The Theory of Everything, and The Imitation Game. And Selma, as you know, was controversial because the director did not receive a nomination for Best Director. None of the cast was nominated, etc. And I would say it was a good movie. I lived through that era myself. I volunteered. I worked with, not those guys, because those are the famous guys, but in Columbus and at Ohio State. And what I didn't like about that movie is it's so grim and solemn. Those guys were funny, constantly cracking jokes. Everybody sang "We Shall Overcome" and "Amazing Grace." There was no singing. I felt like they just made it too grim. And it wasn't. They weren't grim. They were energetic, full of life, enjoying and loving what they were doing. And I didn't get that from that movie. So I think, I don't know that that's why it didn't get any nominations. I just have to say, as somebody who kind of had a little something to do with that era, it doesn't ring true to me. It's too grim, too solemn, too serious. Okay, enough of Selma. Although, I do think it's a good movie to go to and to take your older children. Like my granddaughter's 12 and I would take her. And my grandson is 14 and I certainly would take him. But too much younger, they do show the young children. They don't show them getting blown up, but they show the aftermath of it. And I would not take my 7-year-old grandson to see it. Okay, so Theory of Everything, story of Stephen Hawking. It's a nice story. It's lovely. I enjoyed it, but it doesn't even begin to compare, in my opinion, with The Imitation Game, which to me is the best movie I've seen in the last several years. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm prejudiced. I love Benedict Cumberbatch because I'm a huge Sherlock Holmes fan, and he was one of the best Sherlock Holmes ever on TV. So I have loyalty towards him. And there he is. This is him as Alan Turing, who and then behind him is the machine that Alan Turing invented to break what was called the Enigma, which was the German code machine that was winning the war for the Germans, because that code created by and using the Enigma machine could not be broken. So we did not know what they were going to do. Whereas once he broke the code, we knew, and we were able to, be in the right place at the right time. Okay, so you say, Jane, why do you like this movie so much other than Benedict Cumberbatch, whom I'm crazy about? Okay, so this movie opens, and it says here, this is from IMDb, the movie website, the best movie website. It says, we hear Alan Turing saying at the opening of the movie, "Are you paying attention? Good. If you're not listening carefully, you will miss things, important things. I will not pause, I will not repeat myself, and you will not interrupt me." You think that because you're sitting where you are and I'm sitting where I am, that you're in control of what is about to happen. You are mistaken. I am in control because I know things that you do not know. What I need from you now is a commitment. You will listen closely and you will not judge me until I'm finished. Now,
Wow.
this is how long, front and back of this page, the article on the Imitation Game is on IMDb. On the Theory of Everything, it's that long. So the Theory of Everything is a lovely story, much less complex. Although Stephen Hawking dealt with extremely complex issues, they're not dealt with in the movie. Alan Turing, who was a mathematical genius and, maybe today we'd say suffered from Asperger's because he wasn't social in any kind of way, almost alone, single-handedly, created the mathematics that began the computer generation that we have now. Thanks to him and to this machine that he developed to break the Enigma code, we have computers today. So this is an extremely complex movie in the sense that it is talking about and dealing with a very, very complex issue. Benedict Cumberbatch plays this extremely odd genius in such a wonderful way. You really begin to care about him. He's odd, he puts people off, he's rude, just not the kind of guy you usually find yourself, happy to be around. But he can't help but show through the genius that he has. So even though he's odd, and the man who is the head of the project, the commander, hates him, just hates him. Yeah, because he's
the one that was being told not to interrupt.
Yes, and he especially hates him because Turing believes in his invention, even though at first it doesn't work, so much that he writes a letter to Winston Churchill and tells him, "You have to fund me. I am going to break the Enigma machine, and I need 100,000 pounds, which today's nothing, but in their money would be like $10 million, I suppose.
How did Churchill respond?
Sent him the money. And of course, the man who was the commander was just, that was it for him. I mean, he really hated Cumberbatch from then on. Turing. But Turing doesn't understand why. He doesn't get social interaction really at all. He really doesn't. So he goes on then, with the help of his colleagues, to create this machine. They break the code, they break the Enigma. The war is won, and that's when his troubles begin, because he is so odd. He doesn't fit in with society. I'm not going to do any giveaways here to say exactly what happens, but the end of his life is very tragic. And all through the movie, Cumberbatch's performance is impeccable. And you have a lot of foreshadowing of what's going to happen. I mean, if you pick up on the clues, you know what's going to happen. And he, I think, as Turing, he really exhibits for us on the screen such a wonderful example of how we as a society tend to fail to appreciate or to be able to appreciate somebody who's different in ways that really hamper us as a society. I mean, his mind, his fantastic genius was gone at the age of 42 because of the way he was treated by society.
And at the very end, how did you feel?
Very sad, very sad. I thought that the waste of that brilliant mind was horrible, and something that England, the people who did it in England, well, I hope they pay for. I hope they run into him in the afterlife and he has the upper hand. So if you have a choice, and if you like challenges, see The Imitation Game. If you like a nice, lovely story that shows the strength of human spirit, go see The Theory of Everything, or see them both.
Okay, and let me take you quickly to Martin Luther King Day, the march, to be followed by Jack Frech's dinner, and then we'll come
Well, I think
back.
you better tell them who Jack Frech is, because I don't know.
Oh, he was for 33 years head of welfare services.
Here in Athens County?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Martin Luther King March.
Young group of students who are trying to learn French.
Hello, Nan.
Black and white together, we shall not be moved. Black and white together, we shall not be moved. Just like the tree that's planted by the water, we shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved, just like the tree that's planted by the water. We shall not be moved.
I have to point out one person in particular who has been my partner in this. He's at work every morning at 6:30, and he never leaves before 4:30. He is probably one of the nicest guys I ever met. He's a lawyer, he's a CPA, MLK. He is super smart, and he is just completely dedicated to our mission and me. And not only that, he's one of the few people in the world that I would trust my children's life with. He is that responsible. So I'm going to make Greg Oakley stand up.
And lasting contributions to our public welfare. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Athens County Children's Services extends its sincere appreciation to Director Frech for his admirable leadership and lifelong public service, and be it further resolved that this board wishes Director Frech every success and satisfaction in his future endeavors. This was adopted on the 28th day of October 2014.
Our next speaker is Anita James. Not my world. My world is at Ohio University. And so people often wonder how it is that I know Jack Frech and that I would show up for this particular event in Jack's life. And that's because the work I do at Ohio University is applied work. It's work that we try to make a difference in the lives of people in the community. To do what my mother simply said was, make the place better than you found it. And so for, we're not quite sure, close to 30 years, Jack has used a side of his interests in conducting research with my students, both my undergraduate and my graduate students in the School of Communication Studies. We have, with Jack and the staff, conducted what we believe was the very first customer satisfaction survey. That is, for clients of Job and Family Services. What did they want? What did they think as they interacted with people at Job and Family Services? We've worked with projects with Child Support Enforcement Agency. We've looked at transportation issues of clients of Job and Family Services. We've looked at computer use and computer training for clients. The last project we did just a couple of years ago was a follow-up of a 1987 study in the state of Ohio of registered voters and their perceptions of what it means to be poor. Very interesting data, not much changed in the 30 years since the original study was done. There are still massively skewed perceptions of what it means to be poor and who is poor. I say all this not to sort of give you a yardstick of what I've been involved with, but rather to say that through Jack, not only have we been able to provide information to Job and Family Services that carries through into how clients are treated and how staff treat one another, but also because we've made some difference in what happens in the lives of those individuals who choose to use services. Jack's side that was interested in research, interested in applied outcomes of that research, is something that I will miss, something that cannot be easily replaced. And it's something that brings together the university and the county and the community in ways that sometimes people don't understand, which prompts the question, how do you know Jack Frech and why are you here? It's because we've laughed, we've joked, we've pondered over the best ways to do things, and those are absolutely invaluable experiences for my students and for me. So I will miss you, Jack. I don't have a plaque, I don't have a resolution. I just have years of thanking you for your interest and helping to understand in some different ways what it is we all do.
In September of 1968, I came to Ohio University as a freshman and moved into my dorm, which is Irvine Hall, 4th floor, room 408, I think. In room 406, right next door, there was some dark-haired kid from Niles, Ohio, between Warren and Youngstown. We could have been different than night and day. He had all this urban kind of stuff about him. I was a farm kid from Western Ohio, and he, as he always reminded me, I was the farm boy. But over the course of that year, Jack and I became fast friends. Jack was such a friend to us for all those years of community action. I just want to say thank you for being a friend, and I look forward to many more years of friendship and good times, and wish you all the best, Jack. Really do.
Our next speaker is Bob Sheep.
For hearings in Columbus on the public assistance budget, Jack was there to testify. When an OU professor needed someone to talk about the issues or do research on the issues, Jack was there at the head of the class. Jack has attempted to educate us all, I think, over these years about the needs of the people in the county, the limited resources to meet these needs, and what changes were required to bring resources and needs into balance, or at least not to make things worse. And along the way, he's created some outstanding programs. Just one example, the Homemakers Health Aid Program, designed to provide employment for those on assistance who welcome the opportunity to help some elderly and disabled people stay in their own homes. Jack says he feels guilty, personally, for the continuing high level of poverty in the county. I have 2 points on that. One, that he's done his best. That's been extraordinary. He deserves our thanks. And the other is, the source of the problem is not Jack, but our system. It creates too few jobs, or good jobs, creates poor families, schools with limited resources, a healthcare system that leads millions of people out, and inequality that allows the rich to acquire billion financial speculation that does nothing worthwhile for the society. Thank you.
I'm from Columbus. I spent almost 20 years working for the State Department of Job and Family Services, and I've spent the last 8 years working representing county job and family service agencies. And there is not a time that exists in my career or any of these fellow directors' careers where Jack Frech was not a director. This is an incredibly emotional time for us, for those of us who've had the honor and pleasure of working with you. And he has had a tremendous influence in ways, and I appreciate your comments. I think you were dead on. I'm reminded of the story of Sherlock Holmes and Watson when I think of Jack. There's a story where they were out camping and fell asleep. And in the middle of the night, Holmes woke up Watson. He said, "Watson, wake up, look up, and tell me what you would conclude." And Watson looks up and he says, "Wow, what a beautiful night." He said, "I've never seen a night so clear. There must be just countless stars up there. And if all those stars are similar to our sun, I have to assume that at least in one of those stars there must be a planet similar to ours, which means that there must be life on other planets. What about you, Holmes? What have you concluded?" He said, "Well, I came to the conclusion somebody has stolen our tent." Jack has never been afraid to tell us, while we were patting ourselves on the back and talking of our successes and talking about all the wonderful things we've done, and there have been some great accomplishments, But Jack reminds us that they are minuscule to the challenge that is before us. And we have lots more to do and a lot more to accomplish. Jack was always there to give me a helping hand, but he was never afraid to give me a helping foot. He was never afraid to say it the way that it needs to be said. You know, I was fresh and young and came in, and boy, I thought I had all the answers in the early 1990s when we started talking about welfare reform. And Jack gave me a notebook, I kid you not, it is still on my bookshelf, that is this thick of newspaper clippings from the 1960s. When they were talking about a thing then they called welfare reform. And all of these things we're talking about today, we've been talking about for decades, but Jack never stopped pushing and believing and helping us to stay focused. When it comes to other directors, fellow directors here in the room, Jack, you have no peers when it comes to this. You are the one that has set the standard that we all need to try to become. I appreciate and greatly respect everything that you've ever done. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the guidance. I appreciate the tough love. And I know I'm a better person for having known you. I know we are better as a state. We are better in our compassion. You are a director's director. You are an advocate's advocate. You know, when we were starting welfare reform in the 1990s, it was very vogue for everybody to wear the bracelets that were WWJD. We all assumed it meant, what would Jack do? Jack, you have, as a sign that I know you all who have worked with Jack are very well aware of, that when it comes to this county, when it comes to the services, you've pulled out more dollars and done more to help the poor of your community than any other county in the state of Ohio, bar none. And all the directors would agree with that and support the types of things you've done. You have helped with your economy, you have helped with the clients, you've helped make a difference for the people we serve, and you've had a huge influence on all of that. And it is one of those things that as I talk, I always have to say, well, that's Director so-and-so from that county, Director so-and-so from that county. But when it comes to this county, when it comes to the work you've done, all we have to do is say, Jack. That says an awful lot. You've made a great difference, Jack. Again, I've never had a time when you haven't been there. While you may not be sitting in the seat, you will always be in my heart. Jack, I appreciate all the words I could use to describe you. Nothing means more to me, it's more important to me.
I see the mayor back there smiling. Yeah. We'll get the red flags out, you know. Okay. There are so many people that I need to thank that we could be here for days. And certainly the first thing I want to do is thank all of you for coming out today. This is, I've had more hugs and I've had my little... I also have to, it's not possible for me to thank all the staff people. I mean, it's, we've had hundreds of them come and go since I've started. We had 37 people, and I think the next year we were up to about 75. And we got as high as 190 before some big layoffs came, and now we're down to about 85. But hundreds of different people. And I can't imagine any place where there are more dedicated, more conscientious, more compassionate people than we pull together at that agency who continue to make me look good. They're the ones who help poor people all day, every day. They're the ones who deal with folks whose problems are just, you know, devastating. And day in and day out, they're there trying to make this terribly awkward system work to help these people who desperately need it. And I cannot possibly recognize or thank all of them enough, but clearly I could not be where I am were it not for all of them. And the only thing I guess I would say to you folks is, my employees out there, is that if I were to stay, I'd be giving you guys a huge raise in March. I mean, all these people are even here today, but I'm going to mention a couple of them. Carrie Shaw, who I think is sitting back there. She's just done amazing things ever since I first known her. I think she is just incredibly compassionate, hardworking, innovative, all those great things. And I'm looking forward to her making me look like nothing, just moving beyond that. And as well, a lady who I know had to leave, unfortunately, Jessica Stroh, who works at the Community Action Agency, who makes Doug Stanley look good, which, trust me, is a huge, huge lift. Doug didn't mention, by the way, he was the best man one of my legs. So. But Jessica Stroh is just similarly very compassionate, very hardworking, just does such a great job to keep programs running, which I'm sure Doug would agree with. And then there's one other lady who falls into this category who I think is very, very special. She's a very strong supporter. She's done an awful lot, and I think she's somebody who is probably most likely to end up doing the kind of stuff that I've been doing. Arian Smedley is right here. You probably all along the lines of the great respect that my staff have for me, when Arian started sending out all these invitations and we were planning this whole event, her and I came over here one day to look at this room. And of course, at that time, she had planned only this little end corner down here. And I looked at it and I said, you know, this is kind of small. This might only hold, 30, 40 people. So you invited over 500, aren't you worried about that? She said, most of these people aren't going to come. I also want to mention a few other people in the community who have, I think, been exceptionally supportive of me. People who have, I think, gone unnoticed, business people that have done some really great things for the community and helped me personally. First of all, I want to mention a public elected official who, during the time of what I will now refer to as the recent unpleasantness, I talked to quite a few elected officials about the dilemma I was having, and of course every single one of them said, sure, Jack, we'll fix that up. Well, the truth of the matter is there was only one who actually stepped forward and helped me in ways that mattered. And that's Joe Thompson, who's sitting in the back there. And so for people who think that there's no integrity left in public officials, there's a good example. Someone who shows a great deal of it. This is going to sound a little strange to a lot of you, but I got a great deal of support from Dr. Charles Ping, one of the presidents of the university. Those of you who are a little older may remember him. Some of you young people, maybe not. When he was president, he was always very supportive of a lot of the projects and things that we did on campus. I think Roger McCullough would agree with that. There are other people out in the community that just I think make me almost feel ashamed because they are so compassionate and so dedicated. And I don't believe she's here today, but I'm talking most about Lisa Roberts, who runs the Friends and Neighbors Community Center and feeds and has fed thousands of people and just provided help and sympathetic ear to so many people and for virtually no money. I mean, this has been a labor of love for her, and unfortunately she's been very ill, and so she's in our thoughts for sure. But I'm sure the folks who know her know that she was just is outstanding and exceptional. And she was, by the way, the focus of the program that Justin was talking about. It was really about her. It wasn't about me. It was about Lisa, and she's just done a tremendous thing. Justin also neglected to mention that he won an Emmy for this. For doing this, and yes. So you imagine there's some huge consulting job for poverty at NBC now that sure is. There are two other folks in the community that have been very supportive of me. One is Joe Edwards. Joe Edwards is, he's done an exceptional amount of work directly helping people in the Nelsonville area. But a few years back, I think back in the late 90s, maybe Joel might remember this, him and I got together and we pulled together some money and started sending kids to see movies. The first one was October Sky, and poor kids who never got a chance to see movies. I worked with him for quite a few years after that to make sure that he was very generous, very supportive, making sure that low-income kids were getting those breaks, and been very supportive of me personally since then, and I really appreciate it. I also need to mention Kenner Bush. Kenner Bush was a publisher of the Messenger, and back in 1989, he was a little bit more conservative than me, just a little bit. And he asked me to go to lunch with him one day, and I thought I brought my food taster along, and he basically said to me that he was concerned about what he was seeing happening in the world, and that he wasn't quite sure that maybe I didn't know something about poverty. And he said something that really stuck with me ever since. When I said, why all of a sudden are you worried about poverty? Why in this poor community all this time? Why now? And he said that, this is 1989, he said, I'm afraid that the gap between the haves and the have-nots is getting so wide that we're at risk of losing our democracy. That was 1989. And this man had a great deal of insight to this. This wasn't an issue about being compassionate to poor people. This is about saving our democracy. But you can't let 30% of your population drop out, not be part of this, and still have a functioning democracy. After that, he acted on this, and they ran story after story about poverty. I don't know if Steve Ross is still sitting around here, but you would remember. And they published a whole special edition about poverty. And ever since that time, while he was still out there, they were very supportive of anything we got into. So, I appreciate that kind of support. You guys haven't had enough, right? I need to thank the media in general. I have been extremely fortunate, and I think as someone mentioned earlier, the stories were never about me, they were always about the issues. And I can tell you right now, there's almost no editors out there, no publishers, who really want to fill up their papers or their TV space or whatever with stories about poor people, because that's a real downer, and they don't want to do that. But I have been extremely fortunate over the years in having folks from across the country. In fact, we had folks come over from France and from Germany, and people from China to interview us to talk about poverty. TV shows, just so many people have come to tell this story, not about me, but about poor people and the problems they're having, because we need to shed a light on that. People don't want to see it, they want to turn away. But I've had so many people that have been very helpful in making that happen. Of course, Justin's one of them, but many more. And I think that we were fortunate in this town to have 2 local papers that have been willing to cover this at great length. I can tell you that this community knows far more about poverty than most do. And it's because the local press has been willing to cover this issue, write the stories, run editorials, and that kind of stuff. And all I can say is for years, the Athens News and the Athens Messenger have just provided outstanding journalism, professionalism. It's for years. Actually, for the Athens News, those years were 1983, and then again in 2000. And then for the Messenger, it was 1989, and again, those are the years. You guys didn't get this. Anyhow, it was, that's how all you folks know about this. I mean, because, they've been willing to tell the story. So I can't thank those folks enough. And the other group that I have to thank, and this group no one can thank enough, the low-income families out there who are struggling, who do the work that nobody else wants to do, who take care of their families in spite of the fact that they have almost nothing. Folks who are double and triple up in trailers and campers. People who drag themselves out of those to go to school, and we help to get them back into school to get an education, which we've done for thousands of people. The people who go and take these low-wage and service-level jobs that are minimum wage jobs, part-time. For people who think poor people don't want to work, they just need to open their eyes up and look at the people who are on the other side of the counter at the convenience store, or at the big box store, or the people who are taking care of grandma at the nursing home. They're there, right in front of you, and they are poor, and they're working. I'm really tired of hearing people, conservative people in particular, talk about how poor people don't want to work. And the real reason that I know, absolutely know poor people want to work, is because there's no means test on loving your family and your children. These folks love their families and children as much as any of us, and that's why they want to work. That's why they want to get an education. That's why they want to help them advance, because they want to take better care of their kids and their families. And it irritates me greatly when folks act like we have to do something special to make them want to work. A couple other people that I have to call attention to, because maybe I'll embarrass them in some way. Bob Garbo is right back there, and Roger McCauley. As you can see, both these guys are quite a bit older than I am. And when I was just coming up, they were like my elderly mentors. Truth of the matter is that I couldn't even begin to tell you how many times that I went up the road, as we say, to Columbus with one or both of these guys to get up there and pitch for things to help the region, to help poor people. I mean, this went on for year after year after year, and they were just steadfast and just ardent supporters of this community and poor people, and they deserve a great deal of credit and praise. So I thank you both for what you're doing talking. Okay. I told some reporters who were coming here today that if they hung around till the end, I'd give them the answer to poverty and world peace. People believe almost anything. I do have the answer to those things. I think sometimes it seems as though that is such an impossible dream to imagine that we could solve poverty or we could have world peace. Actually, the answer they're very simple. We need to stop killing other people, and we need to start sharing. Truth of the matter is, the answer to poverty is always going to be sharing. Always. There are thousands of reasons why people end up poor, why they can't help themselves, why they need help. And the answer to that is always going to be sharing. And of course, the answer to war would be to stop killing each other. These things seem so far away. I mean, the whole idea of ending war is as far away as wars that we fight over religion, over people who kill other people because they have different color skin, over things like people blowing up innocent women and children with bombs. You see that kind of stuff and you think, my gosh, that is so far away from some kind of world peace. And you think about poverty, and you think that we're so far away from the solution of poverty because we have hundreds of thousands, millions of children in the United States, the richest country in the world, are going hungry. You know, we have things like millionaire congressmen, it's a true story, who voted and raised for themselves in farm subsidies at the same time they voted for cuts in food stamps. They were already millionaires, they gave themselves more money. That really happened just recently. So you see these things and you say they are so far away. You know, we are so far away from solving poverty, so far away from world peace. The truth of the matter is we're as close as a change of heart. Because that's all it takes. That's all it takes is we have to just decide that we're going to start sharing with each other. Each of us have to decide that. And we can do that. We have to decide that if we do that, by the way, it might not be any reason to kill anyone else. We can decide to stop doing that. Most people will never kill anyone else. Most people are very, very glad to share with other people, particularly in this community. And I think that's what we need. We just need a change of heart. It's not that far away. It's just a change of heart, and we all have to do that. And that will solve those problems. So it's not that there's no solution to them. It's not even that the solution's all that hard. It's just that we have to have a change of heart. There is no better place in the world for that to happen than right here in Athens. And I think we can do that and set that example for everybody. And I can't begin to tell how much all of you folks mean to me. I mean, you are all my friends. And, you know, you've made this such an incredible ride for the last 33 years. And I can't thank you enough. And thank you for coming tonight. Thank you.
Well, I never saw as much food at Jack Frech's goodbye dinner. Just wonderful. And I thought it was interesting that in the Martin Luther King Jr. March, they had, some of them were strangers to each other. You know, they had in two, they marched down the sidewalk, and I think that was very effective.
Well, they did that in the movie as well, in the movie and in real life, I think. Linked arms to show that everybody was a brother. In the movie, the second day that they tried to go across the bridge in Selma, excuse me, they had a lot of people who had come down there to join them. Nuns and priests and ministers and just all kinds of people. And they all linked arms with the locals and marched across the bridge. And I think that was a famous, you know, thing that happened, and everybody kind of took that on.
Well, I hate sad movies, but the way that one began just got my attention. I think I would like to experience the beginning and maybe run out just right before the end.
Well, you know, it's life. Life isn't always what we want it to be or wish it could be, sadly. But just think of what he did in the 42 years he had, you know, and celebrate that, because it was an achievement beyond what anybody's done since, in my opinion. Sorry about that, Steve Jobs, but I kind of think Alan Turing is way ahead of you. Although I use Apple products, don't get me wrong.
Do you think it's time maybe to say goodbye?
I suppose it is, much as I, you know, motor mouth, hate to stop. Somebody has to make me stop, so I guess this is it.
Leave it to Crone.
Yes, yes. Well, Athens, it's going to be a soggy, snowy, rainy week, so go out and see a movie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Enjoy.